Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com. Then click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, share some ideas, solve the problems of the planet. I'm going to get into it. I get this little shorter intro now. I think it's better because we've only got an hour, and so I don't want to really waste a lot of time on the intro. We've been talking in the last little while about different things, and I wanted to present something tonight, a couple things actually, to get you to analyze things a little bit more clearly, see things a little bit different. All our lives, we've been programmed. We've been told we're being educated. We've been told we're being taught. We've been taught how to study a certain way, study with a certain style, what to look for, what is considered logical, what is considered common sense. You know, we've been taught a lot of things in determining and to decipher facts based on what we're given. But the problem with that lies is that what we're not given doesn't allow us to see the full picture. In fact, what we're not given gives us a completely different perspective altogether. I was watching something today. Somebody sent me this thing about McDonald's having nano in their food supply. And the guy that presented it, you know, he did his job doing his presentation. In there, though, I wanted to point out, this is where this presentation really sucked and sucked bad. To attack a fast food industry is an easy way of making brownie points, to make yourself look like you've got something on the ball. When in reality, it's jading the picture. See, when you just say the fast food industry is loaded with nano and it's a bad industry, well, we all know fast food is bad to begin with. We all know that anyway. Most people who are pursuing a health-conscious lifestyle understand that eating at McDonald's or Burger King or Kentucky Fried Chicken or Pizza or any of those places, any fast food, any mom and pop store that doesn't make their own food or buy things from a local farm, we know we're going to have junk in the food. It's a given. So to attack somebody who's selling something in a food industry that we already know is bad doesn't really tell the whole picture. In fact, it actually shuts down the bigger picture. See, I can point to all the fast food industries, doesn't matter which one you want to point to, and say they all have nanoparticles, nano poisoning, nano contaminant in their food supply. And I wouldn't be wrong at all. But if that's all I'm presenting to you, then I'm only presenting to you a jaded version of the truth. The truth is the whole food supply is loaded with nano. It doesn't matter who is serving the food, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Burger King, the Chinese restaurant you go to, the Japanese restaurant you go to, the Mediterranean restaurant you go to, the grocery store you're buying your food supply from, the farmer you're buying it directly from, the supposed organics that you think you're eating, you're getting it from, all has nano in it. There is no exception. See, it's one thing to get out there and to point something out, and then the guy was wearing his rubbers, he put his rubber gloves on, and I'm thinking, well, the guy he'll never get any STDs as long as he's got his rubber on, that kind of thing. That was my mentality at the time, because I thought, what a lousy presentation this really was. And again, it's easy to play it safe and point out the evils of fast food and the detrimental things of fast food, when that's been already said for the last 5 decades. We all have known this since for at least 50 years. We've been hearing how bad these foods are. And just to show that little aspect of how bad the food was, in my humblest opinion, was a bad presentation. He should have went to the grocery stores and started looking at the cabbages, started looking at the kale, started looking at the broccoli, started looking at the celery, started looking at your carrot and carrot leaves, started looking at that. Would have been a better presentation, because now we could see first and foremost, firsthand, that everything has a contamination to it. That's when you take the bull by the horn. That's when you bite the bullet. That's when you get into the nitty-gritty. That's when you get into the battle. That's when you get into the real fight of things. When you just present an aspect of the truth, that can mislead people to a whole different perspective, again, because you're leaving out the other part of the equation. The thinking that it led me to believe was that the fast foods have this in it. And maybe they're the only ones that does, because we're now just attacking the fast food industry. We're attacking McDonald's. Ooh, McDonald's. McDonald's is the biggest, so obviously they're going to get hit the most. But, and again, anybody who knows anything about health knows that McDonald's is not someplace you want to go eat. Period. Whether it has nano or not. I mean, they're getting a lot of foods from genetics. They're getting a lot of foods from epigenetic and transgenic exposure. They're getting things from environments that are not healthy. We all know this. Documentaries have been done on this for years and years and years, yet it has deterred nobody from going to McDonald's to eat. Some people don't care. And those of you who do already know this is not someplace you would eat anyway. So anybody who's going to present a situation, a report, let's do it right, shall we? If we're going to attack a food chain, we're going to attack or point out, I shouldn't necessarily say attack, but we're going to offer some kind of discredibility about the safety of the food. Let's look at the whole food supply, shall we? I don't care what's coming from Europe. I don't care if it's coming from China or Asia. I don't care if it's coming from South America, across the United States, Canada, any part of Europe, Africa. Let's take a walk on the wild side, shall we? Let's have a hard look at the overall picture. So this way, nobody has any illusion whatsoever. No delusions, no false, safety net that doesn't exist. No false, oh, well, see, this side is so bad because it's in the fast food industry, the junk food industry, this food industry, you know what I mean? Let's look at everything. Because those of you who are eating vegan are sick. Those of you eating vegetarian are sick. Those of you who are eating meat are sick. Those of you who are eating raw are sick. Those of you who are eating any form of food in any form or shape or fashion, Mediterranean, Asian, whatever, are sick. So the fine line here, and the theme here that I'm saying is, doesn't matter what you eat or style of food you're eating or the style or lifestyle you're choosing, you're all still sick. Because if you weren't sick, you wouldn't be calling me, number one. You'd be about your business, living your life. So when I see that picture, no matter if you're eating a macrobiotic diet, an Atkins diet, a full fat diet, a full sugar diet, a fruitarian diet, a vegetarian diet, whatever diet, a fish diet, whatever it may be, people are still sick. And this is a very relevant point I'm trying to get across here. There's something very wrong in the food industry that's proclaiming, number one, an organic, and this is the other thing too. I was watching something the other day about organics in Netherlands. Somebody sent me a documentary from there, and they were pointing out very, very unequivocally that there was no difference in the food supply, in the food taste, or the food nutritional value. They actually did a double blind with people, and with the double blind, people could not tell the difference. And when they actually did the measurement of the nutritional value of both the organic and the non-organic, there was no difference. If there was anything, it was very slight. Why is that? Why is that? Because today the organics are exposed to just as much chemicals as the non-organics. In fact, they were even saying in the article that just because you're saying it's organic doesn't mean that it's not being sprayed. It's just being sprayed with some other type of chemical, which could be just as problematic as some of the more mainstream chemicals, depending on what they're using. So even that terminology is hiding the truth behind what you're really buying and eating. You know, the whole organic thing is a ridiculous joke today. It's impossible to have it. If the country you're living in, if the region you're living in, if the suburb you're living in, if the county you're living in is being chemtrailed on any level, okay, then what you got is exposure to high concentration of nanoparticulates coming down from the sky, which would then permeate and penetrate the very core and the very fiber of whatever we're eating, whether it is organic or not organic. So that's something that, again, when you're doing any kind of expose, let's look at the big picture. Don't just, don't just point your finger at, oh, look at that bad guy over there. That bad guy over there now is doing this. Look at that bad guy. Look at that bad guy. Look at that bad guy. Okay, let's go look at the good guys. Let's go look at the supermarkets. Let's go look at your organic retailers that's selling food. Let's go look at your, let's go look at your farms. Let's go look at your greenhouses. Let's go look at your gardens. Let's take a walk on the wild side. Let's really expose this and give it the exposure it needs so that we can all work to resolve this issue. If nothing gets done with the food supply, as it is, as we speak this moment right now, a vast, huge majority of you are never going to ever recover from whatever it is that's afflicting you. You will have nothing in your body that can actually will work properly in the restoration of your system. It will just not work. You can't keep reloading these particulates in your body and expect your body to function like it used to. You can't expect to put nanoparticles in high concentrations that can assemble and build things in your body and expect your system to run optimally. It's just not a reality. So again, I'm pointing that out. I'm pointing out that, when you watch some of these people that are making the presentations, let's take a real hard look at what is really being said there and how it's even being done and how it's even being manipulated so that you're only looking at a fast food industry that would have this contamination and then quote unquote state that the organics would be safe. That's a lot of baloney, a lot of horse hockey, and it's basically unethical to be doing anything along those lines. No ethics whatsoever. And if you're seeing somebody doing something like that on the internet, showing absolutely no ethics at all in regard to the truth, then you might want to turn them off and you might want to quit supplying him or her. So everyone will think I'm equal now. You might want to quit supporting these type of people, because all they're doing is misleading you with a false sense of reality, giving you a partial fact and hiding the rest of the facts. See, this, if you're going to be in a fight, if you're going to be a guru, if you're going to be a leader to help people find health, if you're going to really be doing things that are going to make a change, then let's be putting both feet into the planting on the ground here. Okay. Let's not stop this hopping nonsense. Let's put both feet on the ground. Let's move forward, and then let's make the changes that's required. Let's talk about the things that need to be talked about, and let's move in a direction that we're going to see the farmers themselves say, we've had enough. We got to come up with a better way of growing crops. Maybe have a huge aquaponic warehouse. One guy in Ohio had one. He was able to grow over 1 million. What do you say? Over food that would cover 1 million acres. He was able to grow in this warehouse. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I do not know. But I mean, either way, that's a pretty big volume that requires less resources than the current status of farming. The water table would stay pretty well nominal because you'd be able to cycle the water over and over again. And you could grow anything you wanted to in this situation without the exposure of chemtrails or other nano spraying that they're doing. So again, this is something that I'm trying to get you to look and focus so you're not jaded with a truism that only shows you a small smidgen of the truth. You know, let's take a real hard look at what is being presented, how it's being presented, who's presenting it, and why are they doing it this way, and are they covering topics outside of that parameter to indicate that this is not just a McDonald's problem, this is a food supply problem. That's how we need to think. You know, if I'm going to target somebody or something or some organization, I better have my facts all out there in regard to what I'm doing. How this organization is bad and how others are following the same pattern and having evidence to conclude this. So that's how it should be done. We don't have the luxury of, you know, being misled down the wrong path again in regard to what we're eating. Nor do we need to believe in the myth and the mayhem that's also being propagated with these myths. It's just not a good idea. The other thing I want to talk about is music, and how music is a frequency, and how through music people can get hypnotized, and then the message is being sung that people then will believe and follow because they've been hypnotized or seduced to doing so. Somebody this week sent me a song from a group down in the South, and they were singing about the earth, and they were singing, it was called Pass It On By, I believe, and they were singing about the earth and about how the earth is being, you know, hard done by, and it's hard done by us. And I wrote her back and said, no, this was not hard done by us at all. This song is a bad song. Because what it's doing is it's inducing into you a blame factor that you are responsible for the problems that the earth has done. And how it's done is the music that's being played in the background is very seductive, very calming, very hypnotic. So then you start singing the words to the song, thinking that you're believing in something positive. But in reality, when you're looking at the words are condemning you, and then you're accepting that condemnation and bearing the responsibility for what is going on the earth, which has nothing to do with you. I tried explaining to the woman as well. Did you build or create the means to build products with toxic chemicals and toxic materials? Did you choose to do this? No. Did you choose to chemtrail the skies? No. Did you create the vaccines that are causing the genetic and epigenetic damages going on today? No. Did you create the frequencies that are causing DNA damage into our bodies? No. You know, did you create the pollution that's on this planet? No. The ones that cause the problems are the elite and the corporocracies that are running this planet. They, by design, have put these things in the environment and only has allowed those things in the environment without any option or alternative to those things. Why are we still burning petrol gas in the United States and Canada when everybody else is clearly moving away from petrol gas and going to other energy sources? And why are we still using a redundant engine that has been outdated for 50 years? Turbine engine was far more efficient as far as burning, efficiency, and power over the piston engine any day of the week. And yet here we are, we're using a outdated, antiquated, archaic, obsolete technology, and it's still being used today. Why? Now, are you at fault because you're polluting the atmosphere with an outdated, antiquated piece of machinery that the corporates created and gave to you to use? So this is how you have to understand what's going on. Don't allow music to seduce you in the sense that it allows you to relax your guard and put you to sleep and allow you to then all of a sudden recant those words. And by recanting those words, you take on the responsibility of what those words are saying. When those words are saying that you are now being held responsible and you start singing that, you'll start believing that. And when you start believing these things, then you're going to feel this sense of condemnation and guilt for something you had absolutely nothing to do with. Remember, almost everything that you can imagine has been hijacked, has been compromised, has been manipulated, has been stimulated in order to keep you under control. Whether it's television shows, music from the music box, videos from the internet, movies at a movie house, television, everything that has to do with media today, mainstream media, is by design meant to keep you on the hook, keep you involved in the entrancements that they've put out there. They're keeping you in a trance. As long as you're in that trance, you will believe what they tell you. The music you sing will also be part of the programming. The TV you're watching will also be part of the program. You have no idea how much they have influenced these things and how much research they've done to know what frequencies attenuated to what level in music is going to cause you to have a response to what's going on, and how they can manipulate you as an individual or as a corporate or as a network, how they can manipulate us to make us think that it's our fault when in truth it isn't. Somebody can, and if somebody has a concept to this, what I would suggest is go to General Motors. Go to General Motors in Michigan, Ontario, wherever. And tell General Motors, listen, Mr. General Motors, I am tired of driving this car that has an antiquated internal combustion engine that creates more pollution than anything else. Why are you not putting steam in there? Why are you not putting, hydrogen in there? Why are we still using a system that is requiring us to spend a lot of money and causing a lot of damage to our environment? I demand that you start making vehicles with hydrogen or some kind of stuff. They're talking about carbon cells. See how far that actually gets you. See how far that's going to go and saying, well, we're just following the guidelines that have been set before us. That's what they'll tell you. But the innovations that are out there have been out there for quite some time. We should have left petrol fuel products in the 50s and 60s. That's how outdated it was even then. Problem was gas was super cheap back then, so people paid, 12 cents a gallon, 10 cents a gallon. For a high octane, you paid 25 cents or 20 cents. So there was no need to make a change because oil was in abundance. Now we're looking at the footprint that everybody's putting on here because of the automotive industry selling us products or giving us access to products that do nothing but damage the environment. It was up to me, nobody would be buying any cars from these companies. Let them till they gave us something that actually functioned. And there is that already, and that's already here. You gotta remember, these guys, when they're designing these cars, they're already 7 years ahead in the design, so they can keep ahead of everybody. So when you're looking at music, movies, television, YouTubes, IMBs, whatever, and they get into rants and tirades about, whatever, or they start singing these songs and making you feel all relaxed and cozy, and in the words it says, I'm responsible, I'm responsible, I'm responsible. You better start thinking why those words are there. You got to start thinking, why was it sung in this way? What are they trying to do to me? How are they trying to program me now? Nobody consciously says that, but that's what we should be saying when we're hearing these songs like this. What kind of programming is that? Why are they trying to, who's programming me? Who's trying to program me here? That will lead you to a whole side of defense you never thought existed when you start asking that question and pursuing for those answers. Who is programming me? Why are they programming me? Start looking at that. You're going to be in for one heck of a roller coaster. But you will find out eventually all these answers. So like I said, I wanted to point these things out because it's imperative, especially those people who are awake and those people who are trying to do the right thing in any way, shape they can, trying to develop what skill sets they can, trying to live off the grid as much as they can, and they start hearing stuff like this. This can keep on keeping you in a state of feeling condemned or judged or worse, and for no reason, for absolutely no reason. So never take the blame, never agree to the blame at all. We had nothing to do with the environment the way it is today. Nothing. We had nothing to do with the air quality. We did not create the chemtrails. Okay, we did not create the ultrafine particles that were being released back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s until this current day through the smokestacks of the industrial manufacturers. We didn't do that. We did not poison the fish in the rivers. We did not poison the fish in the oceans. Core Exit did that in the Gulf of Mexico. So we had nothing to do with that. Okay, we had nothing to do with Nagasaki and Hiroshima being bombed. We had nothing to do with that. That came from a whole different venue and ball game. Okay, that decided not to drop one bomb but two, when the second one was completely unnecessary. So when we're looking at where we're at today and how we're at today and what we're doing today, it's important that you have a clear mind all the time, a sober mind all the time, so that when you hear stuff like that, you don't fall into it. When I hear music that's trying to suck me in and lure me into the lyrics or whatever, or to the music, my first question is, and I say it out loud, why is this happening? Who caused this? All right, come on back, and we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll continue on. All right, talk to you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. When I'm talking about some of the things I'm talking about, some of you may have a hard time making that connection. And I understand that too, because we've all been programmed. We've all been subjected to bad programming, bad wiring. And when we're listening to things, watching things, observing things, they all have an effect on us in some subtle ways and some major ways. Some can cause a strong reactive emotional reaction. Some can cause a very soft reaction. Some can cause a melodious reaction. Some can cause a happy reaction, sad, And you have to think sometimes, when you're feeling what you're feeling, when you're watching what you're watching, who came up with this to create this? How did they connect this in order to create that reaction? See, these are things that I want you to kind of start thinking in terms of. We've been so conditioned, even with religion and belief systems, you know, everybody, no matter what you believe, no matter what side of the fence you stand on, you know, whether you believe in Jesus, you don't believe in Jesus, you believe in, you know, Moses, you don't believe in Moses, you believe in Muhammad, you don't believe in Muhammad, you know, you believe in the Creator, you don't believe in the Creator. It all boils down to, again, a lot of times what you've accepted as a fact, what you've accepted as a belief, what you've accepted based on a doctrine or dogma or ideology that you've been taught when you're involved in any group, church, or whatever. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad. Initially, that may be required to break away from a previous life, if you want to call it that, to break away and to shake off some of the entrenchments that the life you knew before had on you, and so you need that discipline and you need that concept. But once you get to a certain point, then it's going to be up to you to determine what is real and what is not, what is real facts and what isn't. And even in the means of the interpretation of the things that you were taught before, you may need to reevaluate those things again, just to validate that maybe these were somebody's opinion and they strung scripture together, or they strung some facts that they researched together to point in a specific direction that they saw. You got to remember, anything that you're talking about in regard to God, so one-on-one with the Great One, is between you and Him and your relationship with Him and what you believe and what your faith tells you. For the just shall live by faith. But you also need to understand, you know, what He's saying at times as well. So, again, for your own sake, reevaluate everything you've ever thought you knew about what you think you know now. You may realize that in what you've been taught may not be exactly accurate. And it's important that you get to that point and everything. I'm not just saying in your belief systems, but even in your everyday conversations all around you. You reevaluate. Why are you caught up in certain things? Why are you involved with certain things? What's the reason for the involvement? Are you being fortified? Are you being are you evolving? Are you changing? Are you growing? Are you developing? Because that's a better word, really. Are you developing? Is your gifts and abilities becoming more manifest as a result of your development? See, these are the things that you can gauge and judge what's up and down with you, you know, and where you're at. Again, don't allow any frequency to start to control your thoughts or start to control what you think or what you feel. If something gets into that point where they've got you stimulated on such a level that, you know, you weren't that way a minute ago and all of a sudden you're there now, then you might stop and put your foot on the pedal, on the gas, or sorry, on the brake there, and say, wait a minute here. What just happened? How did I get manipulated to feel like this? I wasn't feeling like this a minute ago. That's when you got to start thinking. All right, I'm going to move on to something else here. The thing is, brain power. Our brains have been put to sleep. Our brains have been made to vegetate in a sleep-like state. And as a result of that sleep-like state, we're not evolving and growing like we should. And matter of fact, what we're hanging on to, some of it is extremely anchoring, tethering. If you're going to be tethered to something, be tethered to the truth. Anything that's going to tether you to the planet needs to be cut loose. If it's going to tie you to this system, this global system that's here today, cut it loose. Because it's just going to eventually lead you to a very long-term sadness. If something is going to tether you to this matrix, to this lie, That's when you need to start to cut it loose. Because if you don't, you're the one that's going to pay the price. End of story. End of story. Anyway, I want to talk about brains for a minute, and I want to start talking about young people's brains at a very young age. Okay, I want to talk about choline. Okay, now you moms, I touched on this on the last show. Choline is basically a B vitamin that works on the acetylcholine or the development of the acetylcholine on the brain. It can also conserve acetylcholine. It's very important to have this in adequate abundance in the brain so that the brain signals can transport and communicate with each other. This is very important. Having your brain being able to talk to itself. 1 + 1 is 2. Yes, this computes. So again, if you have hit the point and you're conceiving a child, or you're in the pregnancy stage, eggs are your buddy. Eggs are going to be your buddy. Sunflower lecithin is going to be your buddy. Egg yolk lecithin is going to be your buddy. They're going to have a ton of effects on the system. How many of you have used pharmaceutical drugs for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you decided to get off the pharmaceutical drugs and you had a hard time with the withdrawal symptoms? One of the reasons why is because the drugs that you were on leave a metabolite, a leftover effect. In other words, a biomarker indicating that you had utilized these different chemicals in your body. And the longer you're on these pharmaceutical drugs, the more damage they cause. And as a result, you wind up with brain malfunction, brain disjunction. And one of the things that can help in the regeneration of this is choline. Now, you get a child in the developmental stages, from year 1 to year 5 to year 7. This is something you really want them to have, whether it's a soft-boiled, hard-boiled, sunny side up, over easy, scrambled, quiche, baked, whatever. This is something you want them to consume. If you can't get them to consume an egg, get them on sunflower lecithin. Never use soy. Never use soy. Use the sunflower lecithin. It's far better, far safer, and there's no unwanted glyphosate. Well, hopefully there aren't, depending on where they're getting the crop from. But this is something that's very key for brain functionality, brain energy, brain acuity, memory, focus, coordination with the body. Those of you who are training with weights, you may find by consuming the egg yolk, not just the egg, the white of the egg, but the whole egg, may find that when you're doing your training, you're doing your disciplines, you've got a better mind-body connection. When you're training, you're able to concentrate better on what you're doing. Again, this is very important for not only building the body, for building the brain. And if you have a drug-like condition that you've been having for years, prescription drugs, and you want the sunflower lecithin to be there as well for several reasons. It's got choline and inositol into it, so we got 2 brain supplements. But it'll go into the liver, and it'll go into the fat cells, and it will wipe out and clean out the metabolite buildup that may have still be around, which can then stop the reoccurrence of the drug you were on. See, there's a method to my madness here. Sulfur is another thing that can help again remove that as well. So you may want to combine NAC with phosphorus in a liposome. You may want to combine sulfur with a sunflower lecithin, again, in the liposome, so that you can even carry the nutrients even better. So again, we have options in how we can, and this is a nootropics, which means this is a brain food. So this is something simple, and there's all kinds of choline out there. There's cytocholine. There's another one, CDP cytocholine. There's another one that's more expensive. What's it called? Then you got choline bitrate, GPC is the other type of choline. It's very expensive. It's a more refined version of it. Unfortunately, that one's soy derived. But again, there's all kinds of choline out there that you can find that can help you with your brain functionality, your physical coordination, your brain's efficiency. And again, giving this to a child in small increments as they grow will further cause major brain development. They will be able to think, they'll be able to observe, they'll be able to hear, they'll be able to listen, they'll be able to see, and then they'll be able to interpret all the things I just mentioned as a source of information, so they can now know what to avoid or what to involve themselves with. It's important, very important, that you understand the nature of some things and how important they are in these chemicals. B12 is another brain nutrient, okay? You've got also inositol, you got also B3, you know. These are the big guns for the brain in the B complex. Now, let's say you have no sunflower lecithin, but you've got the choline in a supplement form and you got inositol in a supplement form. Okay, so why don't you mix them up in a well, you can mix them up in a carbonation format. You can mix them up in a liposomal format. You can put them in your tea and your coffee, and the caffeine can help deliver these things into the system more efficiently. But by adding these other components to those two things, you can incorporate again either a liposome method or a combination of a direct means of shuttling these nutrients into the system, because once it gets to the liver, it's immediately shot to the brain, and that's when the brain starts to notice some changes going on in its function. It's important, like I said, to get your children on this, because again, they're the ones that are going to be the ones different. We're looking at today any means to keep one's brain intact and the capacity to be able to function and memorize and have your memory, and to again be cognitive and being interpretive and analytical in the brain is going to be so key to understanding our world as we should be seeing it today. It's just you know, inevitable that we're going to need any advantage for our brain as possible. So this is one of the things that you give a child, give yourself, especially if you have a job where you're in front of a computer all day and you're constantly using your brain. This is one supplement that's very inexpensive by any health food store in North America, and you may find that it has, you know, the long-term and short-term benefits are very real. Like I said, it can increase the efficacy of the brain on all levels. So again, something to check out. Somebody sent me something this week, something called DTPA. Never heard of it before. I decided to look it up, and boy, is this something that we should all be familiar with. So, just in case I don't get through this, which I don't think I'm going to tonight, I can touch on it Thursday, I want you to look up pentetic acid, or DTPA. It works very similar to EDTA, but this one pulls out radioactive metals. Whoa, radioactive metals can come out of this thing. It's made from a salt, a zinc or a calcium salt they combine it with, and by doing that it can help again pull out nutrients, or not nutrients, the radioactive material from the body. Let me read this. DTPA is a calcium or zinc DTPA that is used to perform medical imaging in the brain, kidneys, and lungs. It can also be used to remove certain radioactive materials, except for uranium and neptunium, from the person's body. Well, that's not bad. Only two types it won't touch. The conjugate base of DTPA has a high affinity for metal cations. Thus, the pentaanion DTPA-5 is potentially an oxidant ligand, in contrast to EDTA, possesses 6 centers to form coordination bonds with metals. The formation consists of complex are about 100 times greater than those of EDTA. 100 times greater than those of EDTA. Wow. Can you imagine that? And in today's times, with the saturation of nanoparticulates, this may be something we may want to incorporate not only orally, but externally. Okay? So again, keep that in mind. This is something, again, I'm going to further talk about in the, in the next show. I just got some of the research on it today, and I was looking at it. I actually am going to be ordering some because I want to order it. I want to try it myself to see how it works even on a topical. I mean, something that can pull out radioactive material, which is in the chemtrails. There are 4 types of radiation up there: strontium, thorium, uranium, and plutonium. Well, we know it doesn't take out uranium, but if you look at the research, it does take out plutonium. Can you imagine that? So we have options at our door. We have lots of options at our door. You know, it's important that we use those options, especially when we can find out about them. So again, we're looking at what we can do, how we can do what we can do, and all the things that we can possibly do in order to keep our bodies free and clear of the nano poisoning that's occurring to us daily. When you hear the word chelation, it can mean two things. It can mean that it's taking something and directing it into the body, or it means it could be pulling it out. So it all depends on how it's used in the sentence structure to determine what it's doing. Alrighty, I'm always talking about the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network and about the need to support the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. It is an activist network, and as I stated before, don't ask what your activists can do for you. Ask what you can do for your activists, because there's a lot of work in activism, and it's a very thankless position. And to have somebody put up a radio show like this can be even more thankless. So if you can, give him a hand. You know, send what you can. Tell Joe, hey, hi, how you doing? How can we help you? How can we be of service to you? Then you got byebyebluesky.com. You've got Susan Meyer and myself. We're going to be at the Green Show again coming up in April. I just forgot to put that up. Give me a second. I'll see if I can find it. Anyway, if you go to Bye Bye Blue Sky or her Facebook, you'll see the times and the schedules there, and some of the things that we're going to be talking about in regard to nanotechnology, chemtrails, and the whole shooting match. We're going to be doing some demos. There's going to be the buck and the triangle. We're going to be up there again, so we're going to have it. We're going to be there. We're going to be doing it to it one more time, kind of thing. You know, keeping everybody prepared and awake. And again, if you're in the neighborhood and if you have a chance, feel free to come on by and say hello. You know, it's always good to talk to people you don't get to see daily. And Susan's very active on her site. I'm very active in what I'm doing. So and we collaborate all the time with different things and signs and whatnot. And like I said, she's the artist. I always call her the game in Canada. She's very, very, very with what's going on a lot of different levels, more so than a lot of other activists that I've talked with. So again, you know, feel free to come up, take a look at us. We'll see how we can, you know, share ideas. What do you say? Also on my website, go to augmentinforce.com. There you're going to find a catalog link. Feel free to access the catalog link. There you're going to see, again, the flash drive, the bucket, the triangle, some of the old-fashioned supplements. We also got books on DVD. You know, it's 3 in 1 or all separately. So feel free to, again, check it out. And again, I do consultations as well. So again, if you're interested, feel free to call at 519-977-5351 or send me an email at independz@yahoo.com. Alrighty, we are still here. Anyway, we're going to be looking more and more. And again, your new homework assignment is going to be, for those of you who are looking to find some answers and want to know more and not want to know more, go look up DTPA, Dog, Tom, Peter, Albert. Okay, or pentetic acid, PENTETIC acid. Okay, or diethylene, triamine, Panacetic acid. Okay, go look them up. Educate yourselves. Let me see what you can find. Maybe you can show me something. I hope so. I want you to show me what you got. Show me what you discovered. All right, I hear the music. All right, listen, thanks for tuning in. So we'll see you Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. Till then, get networked, cooperate. Talk to you in a bit.